Hi, girls and Grace. Thank you so much for clicking this video. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can become a fashion buyer. And I have the honor of speaking with my church bestie, Miss Aliyah B. Hey, girl. Hey. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. I'm really excited to do this and be here, and thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being available. So, mentees, just let the Bible says when you hang with the wise, you become wise. I have a reverse to that. When you hang around fashionable people, you become fashionable. You become fashionable. I had to put on my fake Gucci scarf for my Aaliyah B, ladies and gentlemen. This is the friend that dresses from head to toe, okay?
Oh,
From head to toe. It's always ready for a showdown.
thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And I'm just so happy to share just this knowledge with my mentees because the overall goal of Girls and Grace is to number one, put God in the center of your dreams, and secondly, to actually accomplish those dreams. And so often when I meet individuals and they're like, what career are you in? Are you a pastor? And I'm like, no, I'm actually in fashion design slash minister. And they're like, well, how did you get there? I've always wanted to be a designer. But I had the unique honor of not only working with designers, but just seeing like the overall design chain. And you have one of the most key roles in fashion. You are a fashion buyer. And so I'm so happy to have this wealth of knowledge being shared on our platform because I feel like there's so many girls that are like, I can't sew, or I may like to sew, but I really don't like getting my nails messed up. But I love math and I love shopping. What can I do in the fashion industry? And I feel like with you sharing this knowledge today, we're going to change someone's hearts to actually not only go into the fashion industry, but become a fashion buyer. So are you ready to share this wealth of knowledge with us? Yay.
Yes.
Yay. So before we start about like your career, I really would love to know just your background. Like, how did you grow up? Where are you from? Education, just so our girls can see like just your start.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I went to Norfolk State University, which is a HBCU in Norfolk, Virginia. So I
Okay.
pretty much stayed local for undergrad,
Mhm.
and I majored in mass communications and journalism at
Wow.
the time. Well, actually, I started off as a biology major
Uh-oh.
because for a while I thought I was going to be like an obstetrician. Like I loved babies. I loved the whole process of like, you know, birth, and it's very weird, but I just loved it ever since I was little. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a baby doctor. And
Mm.
then as soon as I received my syllabus for the curriculum and I saw physics on there, I said,
Yes.
yeah, never mind.
Yeah, that
We're
part.
not going to be a biology major because me and math don't go together. At least not that kind of math.
Yes, that part.
Um, and so I changed my major my sophomore year, and I changed it to mass communications and journalism. But it was pretty much my sophomore, at the end of my freshman year, sophomore year, I kind of knew that I wanted to be a buyer
Oh, wow.
and be in fashion. And so obviously the school at the time didn't have, so buying is in within merchandising. That's the overall umbrella. And so some colleges do have merchandising degrees. However, my college did not.
Mhm.
And so I kind of went back and forth and thought like, okay, so what's the closest degree that I can major in
Right.
that can help me get to merchandising or help somewhat get my foot in the door.
Mhm.
And that was mass communications and journalism for me. Just the whole communication side of it all, learning the media, a little bit of marketing. That was kind of my thought process back then.
Mhm.
So did that and then decided to go to grad school and get my master's degree in merchandising. And so I moved to Dallas from Virginia
Wow.
right after I graduated. I didn't take a break. I went straight through.
Wow.
And then went to the University of North Texas to
Okay.
do my master's program in merchandising. They're one of the few schools that had a merchandising program
Right.
um, at the graduate level.
Level. Yes.
And so I did that, and then I got my first job at J.C. Penney, And then from there, my career just kind of took off and we're still in the middle of it. So who knows where I'll go
Yes.
from here. So
No, I
yeah.
love that. So, like, when you grew up, did you ever know anyone in the fashion industry, or how did that seed actually like just get planted in you to like
Yeah.
want to be in the fashion industry?
Yeah. So no, I didn't know anything about buying. I loved fashion. I always loved fashion.
Okay.
But I would say more importantly, I really love to shop.
Yes.
That is something that I was really passionate about. And I know like, all the girls love shop. Like what girl doesn't like to shop?
Right.
Um, but it was kind of like it was on another level for me. I loved store environments. I loved being amongst stuff and just being in the energy of a mall. I love to touch clothing. I love to feel clothing. I loved, you know, watching other people shop.
Yes.
And I found it really interesting. Like, okay, everyone keeps gravitating towards that same top. Like, what's so special about that top? Or,
Right.
you know, seeing clientele in one store and how it drastically varies from another store.
Right.
So that was something I was interested in since I was younger. And then I don't remember who I heard this from, but the statement of find what you're passionate about and figure out how to make money from it just
Yes.
resonated with me. And so I got to Googling. Like, because I'm
Mm.
like, how do I, like, I love to shop, I
Yes.
love fashion. But to your point earlier, I don't sew and I'm not really interested in like making my own clothes.
Right.
So what else is out there that I can do where I can make money and not just money, but good
Right.
money? Because
Yes.
I love money too.
Yes.
And so I wanted to do something where I could make great money,
Right. Right.
but also do what I love. And so through Google, honestly,
Wow.
I found buying. And so I did a ton more research on it. And then that's when I realized like, oh, that's what I want to do. Like
Wow.
that is it.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
research was key for your
Yep.
whole fashion journey because I think what's so unique is like going to a HBCU and of course you experience what it has to offer and the resources that they
Hmm.
provide. But there that is a deficiency. There are not a lot of HBCUs with fashion or art programs. Because I remember when
Hmm.
I was taking it upon myself, like I knew I wanted to do fashion design, but Clark Atlanta seemed to be like the only prospering like fashion department I could
Yep.
attend. And so, like, with you being able to like navigate, okay, like this is a good skill set. Communications can take me far, but I do need to specialize in merchandising. Why did you take it upon yourself to get your master's in merchandising instead of just saying, like, I'll just stick to communications and just try from there?
Um, I grew up in a very academics was a huge thing in my household. Like both of my parents are college educated. My dad went all the way through and got his PhD. And
Wow.
so education just runs rampant in my family, even extended family.
Wow.
And so if I'm being honest, like that was kind of what I knew to do. Like you want to do something, so you go to school for it.
Mm.
Um, so even the decision to go to grad school, I kind of made that decision in tandem with changing changing my major.
Right.
That was like all part of the plan. I'm like, okay, I'll change my major into mass communication and journalism and then get my master's in merchandising because
Merchandising.
I really wanted my degree in merchandising.
Right.
Um, and so that is kind of like what influenced my decision. And we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, but like there are so many different ways and avenues to get into buying.
Yeah.
Mine just happened to be via education or
Yes.
higher education.
Yes. No, that's good to know. So, like, with knowing you personally, I know that
Mhm.
Jesus is number one in your life, and faith is such a huge pillar, a part of your life and your discipline. And
Yeah.
with being in the industry of fashion, we know there's a lot of just worldly things. So, how has your faith like helped you along your journey with being in fashion?
Oh man, it has been, I would say, a pivotal part of my journey.
Yes.
More specifically with just providing me discernment.
Mm.
Um, for just discernment on making sure that an opportunity is the right opportunity for
Right.
me,
Right.
staying prayed up and staying connected to God and making sure you're giving him time to actually speak to you and listen to him. When opportunities do come, because, yes, the fashion industry or retail industry is a very competitive industry. So it can be hard to get certain roles, but at the same time, there are a plethora of roles out there. And
Yes.
so sometimes you can be clouded if you're not connected in your faith. You could just find yourself doing all kinds of things and being all over the place. So definitely staying grounded and making sure I'm making the right decisions.
Yes.
And then also with fashion being its own industry,
Yeah.
particularly within buying and merchandising, it's like corporate
Right.
um, retail. So you're still in corporate life.
Yes.
And so although it's 2025 and there are a lot of things about corporate life that has changed,
Yes.
politics is one of those things that is still there.
Present.
It has
Yes.
not changed.
Absolutely.
And so having the discernment to navigate the corporate environment,
Yes.
um, and making sure that like what I'm hearing, from people and from my surroundings, I'm also seeing and making sure they're lining up. Because people will tell you all kinds of stuff,
Yes.
but at least in my career, people will tell you all kinds of things, but then my eyes will
Yes.
see the
Yes.
complete opposite.
Right. No,
And so
absolutely.
staying grounded and just saying like, Lord, okay, help me. This person told me this, but help
Yes.
me to see, give me clear vision,
Yes.
like help me navigate through this.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, discernment is huge for
Yes.
for me, and that's been the biggest thing in my journey
I
with
love
faith.
that. No, I love,
Yeah.
and it's so important for young girls to hear that because, you think of glitz and glamour and fashion shows and making decisions
Hmm.
before it's on the floor or being able to travel and being able to meet new people, diverse backgrounds and communities. But deception is real. And it's so
Yes.
important to have not only just salvation, but in that salvation, God gives us gifts. And one of those gifts is the Holy Spirit and discernment. And so just hearing you say how that plays a role in your everyday lifestyle is such a jewel that I hope our mentees pay attention to because they can practice that today with the type of friends they have or the places that they go, the classes that they take, and just being very, very knowledgeable of the things that you come in agreement with. Because I'm sure in your experience, there are opportunities that you had to say no to because it wasn't going with your morals and beliefs. And you had to find peace within yourself to know that that is okay because Christ is greater than any opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah. No, no problem. And another thing that I would add to that is, you know, being a buyer, we have, depending on what you buy, because as a buyer, there are so many different categories that you can buy. You can buy clothing, you can buy home decor, you can buy groceries. A lot of people don't know that. Food. Um, and so in a lot of ways, buyers can really impact people's lives.
Yes,
As a buyer, I am choosing product that's going to be sold to people, to the
right.
consumer. Part of that process is also pricing an
Yes,
item. It is, making, curating and selecting the details of an item.
right.
And so all of those things do affect, everyday people. And so in regards to faith, being in fashion and retail, those industries are very worldly.
Yes,
As a buyer, sometimes you do have to be very connected to your faith because there are decisions that we have to make where if I'm not faith filled,
yes,
I could be making a decision, a worldly decision on
yes,
an item that could negatively impact everyday people.
yes,
And that is something that is even more critical in the current political environment we're in, the way our country is right now.
yes,
That's a topic in every single company for every single brand.
yes.
those are the conversations that are being had. And so it's really important to really be connected in faith, and stay connected in God, because huge decisions are being made
Yeah,
on products that really do impact your life and
literally.
people.
I
Yeah.
think that's so important because, like, not only are we learning through this conversation how fashion buying plays a role, and we consume it every single day, whether we're going to the gas station, whether we're going to our favorite store, or even the movie theaters. Like, someone made the decision for the movie theater to have that particular brand of popcorn and that particular candy. And the reason why they don't have Pepsi product is because that buyer said it did not go with the budget. Like, we consume your decisions on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's so important that girls have this knowledge, because it's not only are you like making fun, cutesy, aesthetic decisions, but you are well knowledgeable of a company's budget. You're well knowledgeable
Yes.
of the economy. You're well
Yes.
knowledgeable of trends and just micro trends and macro trends, and then just having to read and see what's in the news and prevent your company from having to make these poor decisions due to the fact that this product and this CEO is not, gelling together. So it's so much that you have to be there, the word again, discerning about that. This is why having a strong relationship with Christ keeps you staying and it's successful, because you're able to see things. I feel like you're able to see things differently in a different light, because you serve a big God. So you're able to think of things from a global standpoint, the longevity of things. And I think that is such a beautiful thing to just hear you say that, because you serve a great God, this is how you're able to be successful in your role and not take your job lightly, because it's like, oh, it's cute. It's cute.
Yeah, I really view it as a form of ministry.
Yeah,
The older I've gotten and the closer, the deeper into my faith that I've gotten, I really do see my career in a different light.
that's good.
Obviously I'm still on a journey,
Yes,
but knowing the decisions that I have made and that I get to make,
yes,
and seeing that like it feels very small from my point of view
right.
because I'm the buyer and I do this every day. Like pricing an item is like, okay, yeah, you do that every day.
Mm,
But, being in meetings and, I have power and influence
right,
to say like, hey, that's actually not a good idea. Like I
right,
can work on behalf of people,
right.
and advocate for people to make sure that like, hey, we probably shouldn't sell that.
Yeah,
Like actually that's not going to go over well. Like I don't that item we shouldn't put on the floor.
yeah,
Or no, we don't need to do a price increase there.
yeah,
Like, and it's no malice to someone else or another person. But again, sometimes when you're in a worldly environment, you can get caught up in, okay, I'm here to do a job and my job is the only focus.
right, right,
Tariffs are happening, so price increase.
right.
The end. Period.
Help us,
Like
Lord, with that
the
one.
end. Like you're not
Ooh,
thinking about anyone else. If the CEO of the company says we're focused on profit, we're focused on making money, make money, make money. I have influence to say, hey, wait a minute. Let's think about how this will impact our customer. Maybe there are some other ways we can engineer this in a way where we don't have to increase the cost on this item because this is an item that our customer really loves or really needs. I think about the people that are in the grocery and food industry or even the healthcare, like buyers who buy like medicines and like everyday healthcare products.
right.
Those are things that people need.
Yes.
And so as a faith-filled buyer, you would want someone in that position to really advocate, like, okay, no, like negotiate with these vendors,
Right.
negotiate hard with these brands and say like, no, we don't want, to increase the cost on our customer. Like times are hard enough. Like let's bring some relief. So yeah, it's a lot of different ways
Yeah.
it can show up.
And we're just grateful that you're passionate about your job. We're grateful that
Yes.
you have not allowed the naysayers or non-educated individuals to just be like, "Oh, that's a starving industry." No, man,
Hmm.
we got meat on our bone. We
Yeah. Yes.
just hearing, how you have that influence. What advice would you give to your younger self? What would you tell Aliyah? What are some skill sets to pouring into, or to just give yourself grace? Or what are some things that you would say to the younger you?
Hmm. Things I would say to the younger me. I would say curiosity is key.
Mm.
It's something that you'll probably hear, or that those listening will have probably, if they haven't heard it already, when they get into corporate America or whatever jobs they decide to pursue,
Yeah,
you'll hear that term, like curiosity is key, and stay curious and stay curious. And sometimes it can sound kind of like, what does that mean? But
right.
it just means like always have a mindset to learn.
Yeah,
Never ever feel like you have something like secure. The minute you feel like you've mastered something, go find something else you don't know.
absolutely.
Um, and just always be open to unorthodox things. Um, a lot of times in fashion, and just even being around other lovers of fashion and just the industry, you can kind of sometimes put yourself in a bubble.
Yes.
Because you're like only focused on fashion and like you clothing and shoes and home, but like there are other industries that you can gain inspiration and creativity from. You can look at the healthcare industry, and like, I mean, it could be something as maybe if you went to the hospital, hopefully for something minor, and like you're looking at the gowns and you're
Right.
like, these gowns actually are uncomfortable, or these gowns, like who makes these gowns? Like you're looking at the tag and you're like, oh, this is the brand. Okay, hospitals need better gowns. Like it could be, you can garner inspiration from anywhere.
That's
And so
good.
just always be like looking outward and thinking outward, and not try to box yourself in or put yourself in a box.
I love that.
Um, I would say in terms of advice for younger people or young people that are interested in the field, experience is huge.
Yes, definitely.
Huge. Like experience, experience, experience. I will always say experience. And I believe, although I did get a master's degree, and I believe that definitely helped, especially in the department of my paycheck.
Yes.
Um, I believe that experience was really what got me to where I am today. I started working in retail since I was 16,
Wow.
and I always worked retail. Like all my entire working career was retail. And so that was a lot of experience for me. And even through college, I worked. My hours weren't as heavy, but like I worked even through college. And I believe that like that is really what made me stand out when
Right.
it came time for me to start applying for roles, because there were a lot of other people that were applying for the same roles that didn't have as much experience as I did, or they just simply went to college and just got a degree, didn't
Mm.
do any internships, didn't have any like real world experience or like on the floor experience. And so it's like, yes, your degree means things and means a lot, but what else? Like, how do we know that you can actually do the job? And they won't know that without experience.
That's great that you said that, because that pivots into our most important question and the whole purpose of this, of how to become. So, what
Mhm.
are some step-by-step tips that you could give, let's say, a young lady that's a senior in high school or maybe a freshman in college? How can she become a fashion buyer?
So the first thing I would say is to research what a fashion buyer is. That's probably the most important thing, because even in grad school, I was a merchandising grad, and there might have been 10 people in my class.
Mhm.
Only two of us, me being one of the two, actually graduated. We had a lot of dropouts because they didn't know that it took all that it took. They thought they were going to show up and put cute outfits together, and like they just heard fashion and they ran with it. And being a buyer, there's only like 20% of the job that's like the fun, frilly stuff. You spend
Wow.
a lot of time doing math, you spend a lot of time in Excel, you
Yes.
spend a lot of time doing things that's not the sexiest thing.
Right.
And so, really research and make sure you know what it all entails. And then from there, you can either take an education route where you get your degree. No matter what, you're going to need an undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
Um, Companies aren't as strict in terms of your major. I've met buyers who have all types of majors from
Yes.
English all the way to like engineering. So,
Wow.
whatever the degree is, but I did postgraduate education and then experience. So
Yeah.
work in a store, work in a retail store, work for a brand, do an internship. Experience though is really going to be key in order for you to get to where you need to be, especially in today's times, even
Right.
more so now than maybe
Yeah.
back even when I was in looking for a job and in school. Um, so yeah, experience.
I
That's
love
the big
that.
thing.
No, and I think those are two key things because people fail to realize that education is a pillar to everything, whether you're
Mhm.
self-taught or you're actually getting a degree for it. But especially from a corporate standpoint, education is so key. And then also doing those skill set trainings like Excel, doing LinkedIn learning, getting certificates while you're in high school or undergrad career, especially if you don't come from an environment where, like Aliyah, fashion was like something you had to introduce to your world and your family. So I'm super grateful for your education and your knowledge. And is there anything else that you would like to leave us with before we close?
No, I just want to like thank you for having me. I'm really excited that I was able to do this. A lot of people don't really know like what buying is and that buying is even a potential career
Yeah,
path that someone could go into.
yeah,
So I'm just really glad for you giving me the platform to kind of share about buying and hopefully more people will be interested in it
yeah.
um, by the time they hear this.
I hope so too. Well, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing all the amazing things that you're going to do in the fashion industry.
Thank you. Thank you.
So